Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Well, Game Over is here with myself, Conrad Krausert, and Peter Klein. The Flames get off to their best start in franchise history, but can't take home 2 points as they fall to the Seattle Kraken with quite frankly, a ugly, sloppy hockey game, Peter.
Yeah, no, that game was bad. There's no other way around it. These are the parts of the rebuilds that you don't necessarily romanticize when you are moving out veteran players and you are making all of these moves for draft picks and stuff. It's this part in the middle where you go from like, okay, we're bringing in prospects and then they develop and they're awesome. This is the middle part where it is really bad because this game sucked tonight, but gives us at least a couple of things to talk about here on Game Over Calgary.
Yeah, so we'll go over the limited events that happened in this game with Calgary actually opening the scoring at near the end of the first period. It's Blake Coleman blasting it home with only a few seconds remaining on the power play. After, if you're your goaltender, tend the goal. Oh, wait, that was the old hosting site that I was allowed to say that. But yeah, it was a nice screen by expected person in front of the net, Rasmus Anderson, that led to the Coleman goal. What more can we really say about that? It was nice blast. Decord could not see that puck if he wanted to.
Yeah, noted net front presence, Rasmus Anderson, coming up with the big one there. I think if you were to assume that there was a point shot that went in because of a screen in front involving Coleman and Anderson, it would have flip-flopped that one. But they executed that well, and it was on a power play where there was actually a few opportunities, which was not something we would say about much of this hockey game just in general, but it was a power play that started out looking pretty good, and it becomes quite effective with Coleman hammering home that goal. Nice to see him out there. He got a little bit banged up as this game went on, was able to come back in and help contribute. But yeah, at that point, kind of felt like first period, they've had some trouble with those, right? You go back to the Vancouver game, it was ugly. You have this one, ugly. And you were kind of thinking, okay, you come out of this one, you're ahead, you've got this momentum, and here you go. And it just, they never were able to really build off of it.
Yeah, and then the penalty kill in the second period after. Okay, I'm going to stop and take a break here. That should not have been a 2-minute double minor, but it is the way the rules are written. Like,
Yeah,
Nazem Kadri's stick is the one that catches the face, but it's off a stick lift. I know they now have the review to see if it's a teammate's stick that leads to the cut or gash or high sticking. But a stick lift by yourself, dragging someone else's stick into your own face and drawing blood, I'm not a big fan of that. Like, I understand player safety probably loves it, but I don't.
yeah, like it seems. I mean, it's not something you would do intentionally. Like, I do not think the Seattle player went full like pro wrestling heel and just like, oh, whoa, oh, hit myself. Oh no. Like, I don't think they did the Eddie Guerrero where it's, oh well, you have a stick and it was by my face. What happened? I don't think it was that. But it's just it is. It's just dumb. Like there's no sense to it at all. It's one of those things where you try to legislate X and Y and Z, and then there's unintended consequences. And then for them, because it's in the heat of the moment that happens, right? There's a stick that hit a guy in the face. Well, that's high sticking. Okay, let's go. And then they review it, and still to come to the conclusion of, oh yeah, no, that's a penalty. I was flabbergasted by that. I could not believe it. Full disclosure, like I was starting this game a little bit late. Your boy was making some soup tonight, and so I'm skipping through, and I see that happen, and then I see they go to review. I was like, oh, okay, well they're changing this, and then I skip ahead, and it's 4-on-4. What the fuck? Like what? How is that? How? So I don't get it. I know the Flames have not really been on the bad side of a lot of officiating things and all of that. Even amongst teams in Alberta, the Flames have not had the worst of the officiating so far. But holy hell, did that suck!
Yeah, and it led to the Chandler Stevenson goal. Power play marker tied this up. His first as a Seattle Kraken after joining in the offseason. But then an uneventful, uninspiring third period brings us nothing. And then comes overtime. Seattle wins the draw. They get their puck possession for the first minute of the overtime. And then the Flames finally get possession. You think they're going to break out. Okay, it was around the first 30 seconds. Now that I'm looking at the time the goal was scored. You think the Flames are going to break out? Rasmus Andersson drop pass back to Nazem Kadri. And Naz lays an egg. Like, there's no other way to put this. Puts it right on the stick of Brandon Montour, and a guy that seems to love playing the Calgary Flames tucks this one home. Jordan Eberle, obviously former Oiler. I had stats about him that I am going to pull up here. Where was it early in the game? Eberle has 16 goals, let's make that 17, and 24 assists in 48 games played against the Flames. Just loves to prey upon this team.
Yeah, I don't know what anti-Flames propaganda was out there in Saskatchewan when he was growing up, and then obviously that was fed upon out in Edmonton, because boy, does he love playing this team, and he does it really well. I thought he was pretty good most of the game, which is about the highest praise you can give almost anyone in this contest tonight. But no, like he takes advantage, but you're right. Like that's just, it's a miss by Kadri. And it's one that you don't necessarily expect from him. This whole veteran player thing and all of those things. And so like, it's tough to get too worked up. I mean, it's easy to get worked up about it. They lost off of it. But for me, it's tough to get too worked up about it because he is, I think, a fairly reliable hockey player. And if that is a Coronado or a Klapka or whoever making that move, then it's a teachable moment. I don't think anyone has to be like, hey, Naz, can you not do that next time? Like, I think he probably gets it. So to me, it's just, it's a guy trying to make a play in overtime. Seattle takes advantage and off they go. So I don't know. I don't think there's anything actionable about it, but it just, yeah, it sucks that that's how the game ends.
I don't think there's anything I can add to that. That was well put, but oh my God, this was terrible. This was maybe the worst game of Flames hockey I've seen since the Young Guns era back in the 90s. But it was just, I almost wondered if we had brought back the neutral zone trap in the game today. Like, it was just sloppy. Like, we didn't see our second shot on goal until the 10-minute mark in the first period. Like, this was just not enjoyable for Flames or Seattle fans, I don't think.
No, like it was, there was no fun in this game at all. It was a real test of my new ADD medication. It was, but like, boy got a lot done tonight, I'll tell you that. But no, it was just bad. And for like, I know we are obviously focused on Calgary and all of that, like the jersey and the lights, and you have the stuff. Like, we're obviously Calgary focused here. If I'm a Kraken fan, I'm a little worried because there is zero part of what Calgary did tonight that should lead them to then get a point on the road for Seattle. And like, I think Montour had a really good game. Stevenson, I thought, played really well. Eberle played pretty well, and that's about it. Like that is a game that Seattle needs to take advantage of and just put this thing to bed. And I understand Dan Vladar had a pretty big say in that. And we'll talk about goaltending a little bit as this show rolls along tonight. By the way, give us a like, and if you haven't, like, you're already here, may as well subscribe. But for Seattle, like, this is a game they needed to put away about like a real life hour ago, because there was just nothing there from a Flames perspective. And for Calgary, I think that this, you can kind of explain it away as a couple of things. One, we know this isn't a great hockey team, and I get 4-0 and all of that, but we know there is a certain talent deficiency of this group. And so when you combine that with them not playing since Tuesday and having like 3 full days off in the early part of the season, this looked like a team that hadn't played hockey in 3 days after only having played it for real for a week. Like, they were not sharp. Passes were not crisp. I thought the penalty kill was quite bad tonight. I thought the power play looked a little disorganized, and we both have, I would suggest, probably similar thoughts on the culprit of that. And we'll discuss that as this game goes along. But yeah, like, I guess the goalies were working hard during these 3 days, because the players in front of them didn't seem like they were doing a lick. It was sloppy. It was sloppy, and it was bad.
I hate to interrupt this train of thought, but we got to get through some of these ad reads. So, to pay the bills, check out the flagship show of Game Over Network on the Game Over Network channel, Hyperdrive Hockey. All things hockey across various leagues in multiple countries. Wherever it is and whatever it is, Max, Daphne, and Kev have you covered for all of your hockey news with a steady dose of fun and fan engagement. You can find Hyperdrive Hockey on the @GameOver Network YouTube channel, or whatever you listen to your favorite podcast. On the Hyperdrive Hockey page as well at the GameOverNetwork.com. And we'll talk to you a little bit more about some of the new stuff that's just happening on the website a little bit later. So yeah, ugly game, and I think you missed one player on that list. I know you said we're going to talk about goaltending later, but Joey Decord. I was hoping we were going to get Grubauer. I was hoping we were going to get the 857 goals against average. I think that's what he's at if my brain's fully functional. But no, Joey Decord decided, you know what? This is the Calgary Flames. I'm currently the backup. I shouldn't be, but I am. And I'm going to play the backup jinx that seems to plague this Flames team over the last 4 or 5 years. It seems that every time we play against a backup goaltender, they put out a Vezina performance, and it's just the way it is.
Yeah, and it's you're right. It feels like this happens a lot with backup goalies in there. Now, I would suggest with this iteration of the Flames, we're going to make a lot of goalies look pretty good this year. But no, you're right. I thought Joey Decord was not tested a ton, but when he was called upon, I thought he looked fairly sharp. Like the one goal that gets through him, you have a building in front of you in Rasmus Andersson. And aside from that, he was fine. If they could get some kind of a chain between him and the net so he doesn't venture away, because there was a lot of opportunities for him to not be tending the goal, as a former boss of ours, or mine anyway, would once say. But no, it was... And that was another part where I thought the Flames maybe could have taken a bit more advantage, was when he was kind of venturing out a little bit, but there was nothing there from Calgary's perspective. But no, you're right. He played well tonight.
So we'll fully go into the second period here. Let's see if I actually set up some hotkeys. Yes, it actually worked. Oh, I'm so happy that technology is blessing me on this day. But I hate to do another ad read so quickly, but Game Over Network is a independent production focused on community inclusion and quality people. If you're interested in supporting us at the Game Over Network, we have a couple crowdfunding options available. Down in the description, we'll find a link to our Patreon page. We're also working on a page through LaRouche, which is a crowdfunding platform for companies originating in Quebec. If we get $15,000 in funding from you guys back home, we will get a lot of additional funding from the Quebec government. My dad, I told him about this and we were joking, well, it's about time we get some equalization payments back in Alberta. So if you can help out and get us to that 15K mark, we will gain access to those grants. But we won't do that for free. We want to pay you guys back. If you have any ideas, I suggested when I was on with Anand that he could teach me the ins and out of cricket. I think we could do a live show of me and Peter going to a local wrestling show that Peter's not working because he works at so many of them, and get our live reactions. I think that would be kind of a fun, do a YouTube live on the streets where we go to a wrestling show. Let us know if you'd like something along those lines. But also, let us know in the comments. Head on over to our Discord, which is also linked down below and also on our website, and follow us on X, Twitter, Instagram, hey, and even on Blue Sky. I know there's been a migration over there. So check us out on your favorite social media. So let's talk about the goaltending a little bit more here in period number 2. Dan Vladar only tested a few times. I think it was officially 19 recorded shots for Seattle. But the 6'5" netminder certainly said that he wants to lay a claim at least on the 1A side of this goaltending struggle for the Flames.
Yeah, I thought he was really sharp tonight. Like you said, like I think... like 45 shots total in this game between the two teams. Just trying to pull it up here. High danger chances. We're actually in favor of the Flames, 11-4.
I don't know how that was, because I was hearing on the broadcast, they were saying that all of the Kraken shots had come from in the slot area, which generally that's a high danger chance to me, regardless if it bounces off a couple legs.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe that's... I mean, we're checking this 8 minutes after the game ended, so maybe they have a little bit of calibrating to do on a few of those things. But for them to only have 4 high danger chances, it doesn't seem right. But either way, he was really, really sharp in this game. And there were a couple of times where you could kind of see it start to slip away. if he doesn't make a big save. There's a Bjorkstrand chance. Montour had like 3 where he was just hammering those things, and he was strong to it the whole time. And so I thought that he was really, really good. And I know me and Anand last time talked about how I think that they need to be giving Dustin Wolf a few more opportunities because it seems fairly obvious that while this is a 50-50 split right now, it has also definitely been split between good teams and bad. And Vladar is getting the good team so far, and Wolf the not as much, we will say. And the difficult part of that is Vladar is playing really, really well. And like this isn't just a one-off. I get the save percentage was under 900 coming into this game. That could be a common theme for goalies this year because of how the blue line is playing in front of them. But I think he was great. And again, it is going to take a lot for me to come off of the stance that we need to see more Wolf than Vladar this year. But Vladar is certainly not making me beat my chest about that one too loudly because he's been great.
All I'm saying is increase your trade value before deadline day, Mr. Vladar, and I think you'll look really good in black and silver. All I'm saying, I could potentially see an answer there. I have Big Save Dave in the Game Over Fantasy, and let's just say I am not winning the goaltending battle this week. Yeah.
Fair.
Goals against average above 5.
Oh, dog. Damn.
Yeah.
I would be sending clips of this game every Vladar game off to Colorado. It's like, yeah, you guys sitting with like a 750 save percentage right now. You guys want some of this? A second, just a second.
It'll make Shillington smile. Like they'll reunite. Like this is all good vibes for you, Colorado.
Oh yeah, just send it with I'm now thinking of like an old school, like how our extra is at the end of the outro, with the old like videotape thing where you just set a videotape and with the sticker on the front of it, it just says #good-vibes and you just send it off like, yeah, big vibes guy.
Yeah.
Good in the room.
But on the other side, as we say, we are a Flames focused podcast. The reason the Flames don't come away with 2 points in this game can settle largely on the pads at the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, please. Why couldn't it have been good Grubauer? Like, he has been borderline awful this season, and yet we get absolutely stoned. Where was it in my life? Yeah, just why couldn't it be Grubauer next to Joey Decord's name?
Yeah, yeah. Would have been great. Would have been awesome.
Yeah. But
yeah, the one that really stands out is third period, and Coronado gets the puck and makes one extra move to get it to Kadri in front. And it's just, for a game that was so bogged down, it must have felt like the seas parted and he just has this open chance and it stopped. And then Kuzmenko feels like he has the wide open. Kadri's already started to celebrate. Kuzmenko feels like he's got the wide open net and it stays out. And that was all she wrote because this team certainly wasn't generating more chances after that. So that was one where it definitely felt like Decord really stole this game for Seattle. Again, Calgary didn't exactly make this really hard for him to steal, but he was still a very important part of really not letting the Flames build up any kind of momentum.
Yeah, but I think that's all we have to say on the goaltending, so we'll head into period number 3. And as we start that, I have to discuss the Game Over Hub. Because we got lots of amazing people. We've got Kaya May in the chat, one of our Game Over Vancouver hosts, who have been on good vibes ever since I was in their chat talking smack. So I maybe need to stop doing that. But we'll head over and focus someone out east. We'll talk about Game Over Toronto. Game Over has you covered after the game, but in order to get ready, you got to get your game on too. Game On Toronto has short-form daily news podcast covering everything you need to know about those gosh darn Toronto Maple Leafs. Hosted by Josh Ruxdal, get all of your Leafs news in under 10 minutes, Monday through Friday on Game Over Toronto's YouTube channel. And in podcast form, which you can find on the GameOverNetwork.com/pages/Toronto. And hey, you might even hear some Biz Nasty, I hear, at some point on that, because John has a pretty close connection with that. So, if you like Biz, you might get to hear some of that in the future. But we kind of had a little bit of an open topic here, and you kind of want to start it with somebody who drew their name into the lineup. So I'll give you the mic to do that right now, Peter.
Yeah, and it kind of ties into one of the things we were discussing. And also Anand sending it out in the chat, AU's vlog in there. What did you think of the new Barrie pairing tonight? I didn't like it a whole lot. I continue to, yes, no, exactly. There was the pungence to it.
Yes.
I don't know where the fit is here. I really don't. I didn't in training camp, and the best thing you can say about it is that maybe that they went out in free agency and brought in a extra fourth round pick on a PTO, so that maybe at one point you can flip him, but you're using him so irregularly anyway that it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense.
And we're carrying
The
eight D-men. Like, why are
Right,
we
exactly.
carrying 8?
Yeah, and like you put him like you put him in the first game and he's on his offside. And like for offensive purposes, like okay, fine. Defensive purposes, like not to be overly critical, but it's not like he needs help being bad defensively. And so that kind of sets it back a little bit. And now in this game where you have a team in the Flames that I think struggled pretty significantly in different situations defensively. Barrie, like he just gave Seattle a 2-on-1 when he jumped in to the play where there was no need for him to jump into the play. And then Seattle's coming back 2-on-1 and Dan Vladar, who we discussed before, is playing really, really well, comes up with a very big save. And then the spot where you want him to be is on the power play. Well, you already have your two blue line guys on the power play, Anderson and Uyghur. And so this set up the Conrad special, we'll call it, where they put two defensemen out on a power play. And the frustrating thing about this is that if you aren't going to use him regularly, and this is now 2 games out of 5 that he has played, then he's practicing irregularly with the power play. And for something that is so dependent on quick puck movement and kind of having an idea of where everyone's going to be, when you keep cycling through that on the one side, it then leads to some miscommunications and passes missed. And again, the Flames tonight did not need extra help in looking sloppy and looking bad. And so I don't know where the fit is. Not that Miramanov was irreplaceable or anything like that, but there was at least a comfort there with Uyghur. And I didn't notice Uyghur a whole lot in this game. And Uyghur is not one of those defensemen where you can say, oh, well, I mean, the best thing you can say about him is that you didn't really notice him. That you need to notice those guys because they played that way offensively. And so I think he kind of, and it's a lot to put on one guy. Like, well, he single-handedly set a whole lot of things back, but it's just the trying to jam him into this lineup. I don't think there is a natural fit for it, and it just feels like it sends everything out of rhythm just to try to get this guy into your lineup. So you probably could tell from that, I'm not a huge fan, and I think that he fits on a lot of teams, and the argument for it is when you get to trade deadline, what does everyone look for? Puck moving defenseman. Well, these guys, you know what they could use? Puck moving defenseman. These guys, puck moving defenseman. He moves the puck and is a defenseman. I would rather see more of Miramanov. And if you're not going to do that, there's 18,000 other defensemen in this Flames organization that you want to roll out there and maybe give an opportunity to. Even a couple of guys on the team now. Like, if you do not believe that Miramanov is the guy, like Ball, Pahal, those guys have actually like played all right. So I just again, I don't see it. So am I being overly critical here, Conrad, or are you kind of barking up the same tree I am?
I'm barking up the same tree. I hate the 2 defensemen on the power play. I think we've left that era way in the past. Unless you're bringing in a howitzer specialist, like when the Flames had Michael Stone, yeah, throw him out there. That puck's going to go through the net, probably through the goaltender with a spray of pink mist as well. But, like, that isn't the game that Barrie's bringing. He's not a finisher. He is another puck distributor. So it's like throwing a mirror out there of Mackenzie Weegar, or I guess it was mostly Rasmus Anderson on the power play. I would rather have Michael Furk in that spot, just because aforementioned Michael Stone, same thing. Have a howitzer out there. And we're carrying 8 D-men, which drives me Barrie. Okay, Conrad, if you're going to flip guys, it needs to be on the back end. We're talking so much because we had a certain member of Daily Faceoff say the Flames have actively been searching for a right-handed center because we don't have any of those, not even down on the farm. So if we're going to move a guy, I don't think it's going to be Barrie. I think if you're probably going to move someone, as much as I hate to say it, it might be Rasmus Andersson as part of a deal, and that doesn't make me feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside. Is it going to be a guy like moving Miramanov, a guy you brought in last year and that has potential upside, we just don't know, to bring in some unknown middle six center for a year and a half? I don't think that's good asset management. But if that's what we have to do, it needs to be one of those guys who's sitting in the press box eating popcorn more often than they're on the ice.
Yeah, I would be in this particular deal. I would be surprised if it was an Anderson involved. I think that the Flames view him a little bit higher than going out and getting middle six center X. So I would hope that unless it's like it is part of a bigger thing that is coming back, I would hope that that would not be the case. But yeah, then like, is Barrie going to get you that anyway? It becomes a little bit trickier. I think if the Flames are going to start the acquisition era now, which I don't think, I think some of the panic on that was maybe a little overstated. Like I said on the radio on Friday, they're not bringing Joe Pavelski out of retirement. Like they're going to be looking for someone who fits the age range of this team a little bit more. But I think it would be more, well, a couple of these guys just keep getting passed by depth wise, you know, like the defensemen who were 1-2 guys last year, and now all of a sudden, like, damn, we're 5-6 back here. I don't know what's happened, but all these kids have passed us. I think those would be the types of ones that you would try to move. But yeah, no, like I just it feels really frustrating that they are going out and looking for a middle six center. And I know that Schwint hasn't established himself as a middle six center, but to have sent one out the door for nothing when you are then also keeping 2 defensemen, just I don't. It seems weird to me, and so that is why. And I'm not the biggest Hanley guy in the world, but I just
it doesn't
don't
seem like
think...
Craig Conroy's the biggest Hanley guy in the world.
Yeah, Huska either. Like
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot going on there right now. And maybe after this one you put him in there. Just but again, like who's playing badly enough that you need to make that switch? I don't know. And so the Barrie part has just always felt just so redundant given everything else that is happening.
But I think we've run that into the ground and rubbed people's noses in enough, for a lack of a better term. So, Peter, I'm just going to hide you real quickly here and talk about our Game Over Calgary merch. I was hinting at this a little bit earlier, but what better way to support something you love than by rocking this clothing? Game Over's apparel line has dropped with 3 unique designs, while you feel the nostalgic pull of our retro skater design. Want to make a statement with our established design, which is currently on sale, and I've ordered one already. Or you just want to wear your love for goalies like Dustin Wolf proudly with our Live and Die by the Goalie design. Or hey, if you're like me and you already have 19 different coffee mugs and you want to take them to Value Village, but you decide you need one more, it should be ours. But if you want to check out our designs, these are all designed by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg. Use the QR code that is in the bottom corner of our stream now. Take a look through the apparel store and help us rebuild local sports media in Canada while repping the Game Over Flames community.
Warning,
and of course,
incoming Game Over.
Intro back on. I didn't turn that one off. Technical bugs, don't you love them? But let's head to period number 4, the overtime period, like we had in today's game. Throw your questions in chat, but while you do, let's take a trip down to the farm where the Calgary Wranglers lead their division and have had a couple of real standout performances, and a certain center who we classified as way down the depth chart has been absolutely tearing it up. Rory Cairns. I didn't see this coming at the beginning of the year.
No, he has been on fire, and it kind of like it's picked up again with like him, Pelche looking really good together, Hunt fitting in on that line really, really well. The Wranglers, I don't know. I don't know what was going on in training camp, but they have been shot out of a cannon as well. And then tonight, Walker Dewar gets the hat trick. But no, like Rory Cairns is one that I don't think he is a long term like, oh well, this guy's going to be like he don't go out and get a middle six center because this guy is here. But I do think that if something happens to another center iceman on this Calgary Flames team, he's at least worked his way into the conversation. But yeah, like it was when we did the preview, when we were talking about the lack of center depth and all of those things, we brought him up very much just in passing as a, oh, and also this is a human being that exists. And that, but I don't look back on that and be like, wow, how did we miss that? Because there was no real sign of this, and it is another one that is kind of along the lines potentially of a Martin Pospisil, where there had just been so many injuries for a guy who was a sixth round pick in 2020 and just couldn't stay on the ice, and then he's down in the ECHL and he comes back up and things are going all right, but then it's 54 games and then it's injuries again, and it's just all these things. And now you are seeing if he can stay healthy and put this together for a consistent period of time, there might be something there, right? And so I think you have already seen a little bit with Kirkland that it's been fine so far. That maybe I still don't think your top six answers have been unearthed yet, but there's at least maybe a touch more depth in the organization than we thought.
The only unfortunate thing, another left-handed
Yeah.
center.
Yeah.
That's literally the only thing that's preventing me from saying let's send Kirkland down, get him going back again after being benched for a majority of the third period along with the Lamborghini. I was so sad. Okay, I have to show this. I'm real proud of this. That the Lamborghini did not make an appearance in the third period very much. So he gets to go away. I'm just so proud of that silly little graphic.
No, that's fun. I do want to say, I know you're trying to move on to something else, though. I thought that was a little surprising, and not just because you had a graphic made, but and I get like the Flames weren't really lacking energy, but it just felt like energy was kind of the only thing they had tonight. Like that there wasn't a whole lot going on for this group offensively, and so why not send out a little bit of crash bang boom in that third period to try to get anything rolling, and that they weren't their most effective tonight. I think that this one is a bit of a notch in the belt of Matt Coronado, quite frankly, because maybe he was driving things a little bit. Although Klapka, when he was up with Backlund for a shift after Coleman wore one, I like they created a scoring opportunity, which, as we've discussed, were not plentiful in this game for Calgary. So that was just a little bit of something put in the back of the head there. I was like, yeah, there might be something here. But I thought that there could have been at least a little bit of the Lamborghini getting out there to rev up engines on a Saturday night in Seattle because they didn't have anything else.
Yeah, and whenever you send Adam Klapka out on the ice, at the worst he's 6'8".
Right.
That is the absolute worst you're getting out of Adam Klapka, and he's one of those guys who the big critique of him last year was that he was just 6'8". I think he's added more to his game, and I actually think he was quite good in this game until he got stapled to the bench. Ty from Game Over Winnipeg just saying, was Pospisil quiet tonight? I didn't think he was, but I kind of felt that the quote-unquote, I hear people referring to it as the top line now. I don't feel comfortable saying that, but the Pospisil, Huberdeau, Mantha. Yeah, I didn't feel that line really had a big impact in the game today.
No, I thought he was the most noticeable of those three. Aside from Mantha tripping over the blue line at one point, I don't think he really accomplished a whole lot out there. I thought Pospisil, like he was trying to get things going and trying to be that energy guy, but there wasn't a whole lot. So yeah, no, there is just a bunch of guys just kind of balled up they didn't really do a whole lot, and he, I think, is just a notch ahead of those guys tonight.
And I have a question that I don't really want to bring up, but is it time to consider sending down someone who's waiver ineligible and bringing up Pospisil to play on that first line? I love Matthew Coronado, but I feel the confidence has fallen off after a phenomenal preseason. But then he gets benched so that Sam Hanzik can play, and it just didn't seem to click on the first line tonight. Is it time to consider that for you, Peter?
I actually disagree. I don't think it is. Like again, no one looked great in this game, and taking an ozone penalty 45 seconds into the game is not a great way to win your opportunities. But I thought after that, you actually saw some of the fourth line work ethic that he I don't want to say developed because I don't think you learned that in 2 games, but you saw a little bit of that. I thought he was really aggressive in trying to retrieve pucks, and like I said, he set up one of the best chances of the night for Nazem Kadri in front, and then Kuzmenko. I thought he looked good on the fourth line, getting a couple goals against Chicago and working in that fourth line spot. So I have actually been quite impressed with what I've seen from Matt Coronado. I would not do that just yet if you are looking for some kind of a spark, because again, I don't think you look at this game and go, well, you can't mess with anything from there. If you are looking for somewhat of a spark and you want to kind of shift some things around, then I think you can shift, but I would not be sending him down right now. I think
So
that,
maybe that's
there
the
is
wrong
something
name.
kind of building with him.
I apologize for talking over you, but then
No,
maybe
no,
that's
fine.
the wrong name. Maybe it's Adam Klapka. I understand he's 24. I don't think he's waiver eligible. I'm just double checking Puckpedia, trying to figure out where I'd have to check. But regardless, if he heads down and you bring up Peltier, throw Coronado back on that fourth line where he excelled, and give Peltier what he's fighting for and maybe is deserved with his early season play. I just think it might be time to say, we see you, Matthew Peltier, and we see what you're doing. We see the fire, and maybe reward that. But again, it brings you into a tricky waiver situation after, so maybe I'm pulling the trigger on that a little bit too early. But I just think it's something that maybe needed to be discussed.
No, for sure. And if I am reading this correctly, and I like to think I am, although it's 11:30, Klapka is waiver exempt. So I do believe you could send him down and not necessarily have to worry about it. And yeah, like I said, Pelche has found something with Karen's down in the American Hockey League, and if you were sending him down and hoping that he would respond he has. So if you want to make that move, I have zero issue with it. Like I said, I thought Klapka looked interesting with Backlund tonight, but it hasn't been necessarily maybe enough. And so if you want to kind of shake some things up, bring a Pelche in, go for it. If you want Pelche to get a little bit more run and get maybe a little bit, like, keep that confidence rolling down in the A, I have no problem with that as well. Again, while tonight was ugly, this is a Flames team that has points in 5 straight games to start the year. And so I can see coaches, management, whatever, just wanting to ride that wave on until you can and just kind of see what you have in these guys and try to build that up. But no, if they wanted to send Klapka down and bring Pelche up, I have no issue with it. The one thing that gets a little bit tricky, and you did kind of mention it with the waiver situation, is that if Peltz stumbles a little bit again, then what do you do? Because now you're passing him through waivers a second time, and we're doing this whole thing all over again. Only this time now you have teams that are dealing with injuries, and this time now you have teams that, like, there aren't 4,700 guys going through waivers on one day. It's probably just him. And you have, like we talked, Montreal. Speaking of hyperdrive hockey, they said, like, this team has 4 top 6 players right now, and I don't think Pelche is guaranteed a future as a top 6 player. Maybe more middle 6, although there's a Venn diagram there with, like, Ross. But I wouldn't be stunned if Montreal did something with that there, or like a team that's struggling, like Colorado has $40 million in salary cap space right now. They could afford to take on a waiver claim and a lottery thing, and they couldn't care less if it doesn't work and they have to lose him through waivers again. So I think it would be tricky, and you don't want to make decisions just based on, well, what if it doesn't work? But I do think that has to be in the back of your mind as well. And so I would caution against too many moves right now and just try to see what this group has and try to build that chemistry up a little bit. But I like Pelche. We talked about him on the preseason show. I still think that, given how inconsistent everything has been with playing time because of injuries, I still think there's a lot of upward mobility in his potential. And so I would like to see him get as many opportunities as you can. So you're not going to get much of an argument from me on bringing him up, for sure.
Still meat left on the bone, so to say. But I think Yeah, but he has to hit the 30-day threshold or that 10-game mark before he has to go back through waivers, right? I'm always so funny on the waiver rules because it seems like it's a lot of legalese. It almost seems like I have to get like a paralegal to read the whole waiver rules to me every time it gets brought up. I think that is the case, but I'm not entirely sure. That's from Deeds Undone. Who
Yeah.
knows?
No, and that is a thing for sure. But he would have been sent down. When did the season start? He would have been sent down on the 4th. So we're 15 days into that. And so if you have a two, like it's, I if you were going to make the decision to send him down, I think it would take you more than 15 days to do that, right? And so
Correct.
I think that right in the time where it would be like, yeah, this isn't really working. What are we going to do? Would also be in the time where you would have to put him back through again.
Yeah.
So that would be my, I guess, counter to that. But again, like you said, that there's always a yeah, but in the waivers thing where it's like, oh, well, I actually did not consider that part. So whoops. But yeah, it can be tricky. And it's a lot of those type of legalese in the math that you kind of have to do when you're piecing together these rosters.
Yeah, and you also have to take into consideration that Kevin Rooney is back skating with the team. I heard that in the pregame skate, the non-contact jersey had come off. So maybe he's closer than we think. So maybe you send down Kirkland, and hey, the Flames don't have a full 23-man roster again, which is somewhat nice. Or maybe they decide they've seen enough of a Barrie and send him off on his merry way. But that's all just speculation, and I think we've hit the wall for this late night game over. So for myself, Conrad Krausert, Peter Klein. Oh, we didn't get to do the awoo thing that I programmed either. The Flames just crushing all my hopes and dreams. But the Flames remain undefeated in regulation as they fall in overtime to the Seattle Kraken. Final score 2-1. Next game over will be Matt and Peter as the Penguins come to the Calgary, it's the Scotiabank Saddledome. And maybe one of the last times that a certain number 87 comes to Calgary. All you did just sign that new deal. But for myself and for my co-host here tonight, Peter Klein, thank you so much. We'll see you next time on Game Over Calgary.